So, ladies and gentlemen, the soap opera as the Canadian federal political system hit a new high or low today, depending who you support. The Conservative leader, Erin who's been not really well liked by the majority of right-wing Conservatives within the Conservative Party of Canada and the provincial PC wing, has been fired. Now, according to a report on CBC, Conservative MPs vote to remove Erin O'Toole as leader. Now, in recent days, we were hearing rumblings that caucus, the MPs were thinking about either removing him or having a review. And according to published reports by the CBC and other media, a majority of Conservative MPs today voted to remove Erin O'Toole. This is February 2nd, Groundhog Day. Paving the way for another leadership race only 18 months after Party finished the last one. Of course, Stephen Harper was replaced. O'Toole came in. He lost in a minority decision to Trudeau in the last, what I call the 2020 COVID election. Now, the result of the vote wasn't particularly close. 73 of the 118 MPs on hand, but the party's caucus chair, Scott Reid, did not cast a ballot, voted to replace O'Toole with someone else. Now, O'Toole is a four-time Ontario MP who has again fought only one federal election campaign as the party's leader. He will be replaced by an interim leader, which should be in place by the end of business today, again, February 2nd. This will come by a caucus vote. Now, after the vote was over, O'Toole officially resigned his post in a letter to Rob Batterson, the president of the Conservative Party of Canada, according to a source with knowledge of the decision. Now, this person who spoke to CBC News confidentially said O'Toole will begin moving out of his office immediately. Now, New Brunswick MP John Williamson, who was a senior staffer in former PM Stephen Harper's office, immediately put his name forward for the interim role, promising to ensure the party elects a permanent leader in a fair and efficient contest. Now, Tom Kimmick, a social conservative Alberta MP who opposed the recent conversion therapy ban bill, claiming it would criminalize normal conversations between parents and children about sexual behavior, has also put his name forward for the interim job. It'll be up to my caucus members to make the final decision, he told reporters. Now, O'Toole, who represents the riding of Durham in suburban Ontario, faced a barrage of criticism from his colleagues for shifting the party's position on carbon tax, balanced budgets, and assault-style firearms during the election campaign. Now, anti-O'Toole MPs, mostly right-wingers, were also frustrated that the Ontario Tory ran as a true blue conservative in the party's leadership race, only to shift the party to the centre, which is progressive conservative, went into the top job. In the end, enough MPs decided was his grounds for dismissal. Now, O'Toole's warning that a vote against him and his more moderate vision of Canadian conservatism would put the party on the wrong path failed to rally enough MPs to his side. Now, Garnet Genius, one of the MPs who led the fight against O'Toole, was tight-lipped after the vote, so technically he's not a genius. Earlier this week, Genius was vocal by lashing out at O'Toole and his staff, accusing them of lying about his record to suppress a caucus revolt. Genius said Wednesday the lopsided vote against O'Toole gives the party an opportunity to come together and move forward as a Conservative Party that's united and focused. While he helped to lead the effort to dump O'Toole, Genius said he's absolutely not interested in running to replace him. Now, in a statement after the vote, Matt General, an Edmonton area MP who also backed the movement to fire O'Toole, said the party needs a leader who clearly reflects our values. We must rebuild trust amongst Canadians and show them that we're strong and stable leaders who are rooted in our values while also understanding that we can evolve, learn, and modernize our party to reflect all, he said. This is an opportunity for the party. Now, the CBC article goes on to say, social conservative and anti-abortion activists celebrated O'Toole's decisive defeat. O'Toole's efforts to drag the party to center on social issues. The party suppressed debate on abortion during the last Conservative Party convention, for example, alienated some Conservative ground troops. Now, according to Jeff Gunnarsson, the president of the Campaign Life Coalition, he didn't mince words, O'Toole has time and again betrayed the party's socially conservative base with his support for abortion, LGBT ideology, oppressive lockdowns, and liberty-destroying passports for abortion-tainted vaccines. It's about time this fake Conservative was given the boot. Well, he's telling it like he sees it. Now, Conservative MP Eric Duncan, an O'Toole ally and caucus secretary to the party, thanked the outgoing leader for his service while urging members to unite and focus on defeating the Liberals in the next election, whatever that will be, because we're in a minority government. Now, leadership races can be a uniting process. We can be united. We need to get on the same page, and we need to move in the same direction, and I'm very confident there's a strong willingness to do that. Now, Ontario MP Michael Barrett, not to be confused with the wrestler, who was a confidant of O'Toole and a member of his leadership team, said the outgoing leader did his best he could to steer the party through uncertain times. Barrett said O'Toole had led the party for less than a year when PM Justin Trudeau called a snap election last fall, giving him little time to properly introduce himself to voters and challenge Trudeau for power. It's been tough being the leader of the opposition, he said. Now I just want to make sure our party elects a leader that gives us the best opportunity to replace a tired and corrupt Liberal government. Now, this development will force the party brass to immediately begin organizing a leadership race on a very tight timeline. Elections will be called at any time in this minority parliament, of course, if they lose on a money bill. Now, the Reform Act, the federal legislation that empowers Conservative MPs to remove their leader, does not specify how the next permanent leader will be elected, leaving that decision to the party itself. Now, the party's National Council will meet as soon as possible to start planning for that race, a spokesperson for the party said. The first step for the council is to appoint a leadership election, organize a committee to plan this contest. Now, Conservative MP Mark Stroll, who was at odds with O'Toole during his time at the top, said the caucus is hoping there will be a new permanent leader by the fall. Don't know about that. There might be a rumor in that depending on how COVID goes in Central Ontario or Quebec. Depends if the leadership campaign would cause people to visit different provinces. I don't think there's any desire in the party for a drawn-out process. I think given the minority nature of Parliament, we want to get that face before Canadians as soon as possible, he said. We're going to unite behind that person to bring a solid Conservative message to Canadians. Now, let's note this, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know if you're American, listen to this. I'm going to give you a little bit of background. The federal wing of the Conservative Party is not the Progressive Conservative Party that was the Conservative Party in the 1990s that was destroyed under the leadership of Brian Mulroney and Kim Campbell. Far from it. They took the Conservative Party, what was left of it, the Alliance and Reform, and they merged into the Conservative Party of Canada. But the PCs on the provincial side still exist. Not as much in Quebec, of course, but the majority of provincial governments in Canada are PCs. However, a lot of people in the Conservative Party were under the dubious prediction that the voters would not keep Trudeau in after months of giving out CERB and ways to promote the Canadian economy before the 2021 vote. Now, I think Erin O'Toole would have won the election, but factors played against him. He was leading at one point by several points in the polls, but all of a sudden the people remembered what happened with Stephen Harper, what happened with Andrew Scheer, and that's why they kept the Liberals in there. Now, the voting blocks in Canada are mostly Liberal on the West Coast and the East Coast in Quebec and Ontario, with some Conservative strength, while in the Midwest it's pretty well all Conservatives. So the majority of votes. Now, here's what's completely bizarre, ladies and gentlemen. The radical Conservatives out west, there's all these splinter and separatist parties that are going on. They're splitting the vote. The UCP wants to get Jason Kenney out there. So you might see Jason Kenney go federal. You might see Doug Ford go federal. There might be a Maritimer out there. One of the old PC Guard or somewhat PC Guards will Erin O'Toole run himself in a leadership race? Who knows? Crazy things have happened. Joe Clark stepped down as leader and ran against Mulroney, the 83 vote. So you never know with politics. Now, Erin O'Toole, I've been covering politics with the PCs and the Conservatives for years. The Conservative Party of New Brunswick was destroyed in 87 under Richard Hatfield. The federal government lost the PC party, which was the government party for a number of years under Diefenbaker and Mulroney. But we need more stability. We need a Conservative Party that's not just these radicals like the Maxime Bernier Conservatives. Did the People's Party of Canada split the vote? Did it cause them seats? Of course not, because any time you got 6%, it was any in ridings that were dominant Liberal or NDP. So as it stands right now, Erin O'Toole is pretty well he goodbye. Polyev and a few other people, they're on our lips today. But I can tell you right now, if you don't get a leader by the end of July or early August, you cannot not have a leader going into the fall. You got to get this done by late July, early August at the earliest, because the momentum is still hot. If we're still under COVID restrictions, but you know what? It's kind of bizarre about this. He probably said, "Are we going to win the next election with O'Toole?" And if you look at the rough numbers and if you look at the way it's going in Canada, they don't want Erin O'Toole as Prime Minister of Canada. If they did, they would have voted him last year, just like Andrew Scheer. So, I mean, it's the way it goes. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's a soap opera we call the Canadian federal system. If you like what we're doing here, we're a political podcast. To all my U.S. fans who are expecting a sports podcast today, sorry, but if Joe Biden quits as president, that'll be the story today. And a lot of people thought Erin O'Toole was going to be the next Prime Minister of Canada last fall. Boys, they were shocked, because he probably went to bed at 10 o'clock and they were getting ready to party at 2 o'clock in the morning. He woke up, the Liberals won again. It is hard to defeat a Trudeau. A Trudeau's only lost once in about a half dozen races for, put it this way, with the sponsorship scandal and with COVID and the CERB and all different controversies, and he still won. And you can't fake the vote. The people wanted to keep him in there, so you're going to have to get a very charismatic conservative in there. And Doug Ford's not going to do it. He can't speak a word of French. Jason Kenney's not going to do it. He can't speak a word of French. So who do we have left? Ben Mulroney? I mean, it's the way it goes. Thanks for listening. Bye.